All right, hey guys, welcome back to the Potter Podcast. I've got a good one for you today, and I think a good discussion for you as well. And with that being said, let's just jump into this because I think this is an important question. First of all, if you guys are watching live, thank you for following, thank you for watching, and feel free to chime in on this one because I'd be interested to hear some different perspectives on this as I've had this conversation with a lot of people, family, friends, co-workers, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to share with you my personal story and opinion and things on this. And you guys may have some different opinions as well as it relates to it. But let's just jump into this. And the topic of discussion for today is mixing personal life with professional life, right? And I'm sure all of you have probably heard sometime in your life, whether that was from a parent, a teacher, somebody that was like, hey, don't mix personal relationships with professional ones. And the main reason I think a lot of people say that is because if things go wrong, now that relationship is severed and it's not the same as it was, right? So a lot of times people will say, hey, it's wise to just keep out of those types of things and to do things separately. And I'm going to actually paint a different picture and get you guys to think about a few things differently, hopefully, and maybe challenge you on that thought process, that statement, whatever you want to say. And the first thing is this: nothing should be, in my opinion, nothing should be so damning that it ruins a friendship or a relationship. If your friendships are genuine and real, then you shouldn't be worried about something coming in between it. And that's just my personal opinion. Are there things that can come up as you go throughout a transaction or something with someone where it can get a little rough and raw and things like that? Yeah, that's just life, right? That's just, some things are out of our control. Some things are within our control, and there are times where some friendships or some relationships there get damaged because maybe one's not seeing it the right way, or you feel like they're not working for you or helping you, and they're just looking out for their own interests, which is not something that we do or that I do in any of my daily life or the way I do life. So I'm always trying to look out for the benefit of the other individual, and it's not always about myself. Which brings me to kind of my next thing as it goes along with the statement, but why would you want a stranger, someone you don't know, to handle your personal stuff and not someone you trust? That's always the question that I ask myself, because it happens to me in my line of work, unfortunately, and I know it happens to a lot of other people in their line of work that maybe their best friend or their family member or whoever decides to use someone else that's in the same profession as them, and they take it personally and it hurts them, and they get to a place where, like, I just don't understand, like, what did I do wrong or what? And it's nothing that has to do with in most cases you doing anything wrong, but it's this mentality of like, well, I don't want to sever or do anything to hurt that relationship or that friendship. But that doesn't really make sense to me, if I'm being honest. And so that's what I want to break into today, open up this discussion. And then obviously I would love your guys' feedback. If you're watching live, comment, let me know what you think. And then obviously if you're listening to the podcast, feel free to hit me up on social media afterwards and let me know how you feel about this topic. But I want to share with you a story that I think has helped shape this for me, and it actually happened to me as I was a realtor in this, and obviously I still am a realtor, but when I was I would say 3 or 4 years in, I think, and happened to be listing a house for a good family friend. But also, let me give you the backstory of this. So I was listing this house for somebody that was good friends of ours, but also somebody that was serving I'm going to turn this down a little bit so you guys can see my face. There we go. And someone who was basically working alongside of me in ministry, and they were serving on the board for a while. and their kids were in our ministry and all that kind of stuff. And so, long story short, known these people for years, we share a lot of the same beliefs and things like that. But I remember sitting down with him in his house, and we were sitting there, and I was actually sitting with him and his wife, and we were talking about getting their house ready to list. And I'll never forget just what he said to me, and he goes, "Ryan, so what do you charge for a commission?" And I told him what I charge for a commission, and he's like, "All right, this is great." And his way of just bringing up that question and then handling that question, and as we discussed it, I thought was very unique and different. And so he explained to me basically that he goes, "Ryan, our money isn't ours. It's actually God's money." And he's like, "And we believe that you are the guy for the job for us to get our house sold. And we are really thankful that we're able to help and give this money to someone who not only we love and we trust, but somebody that we've been doing life with for the last couple of years. And so it's our pleasure to give back to you. And so, it's not our money, it's God's money. And it's nice that we're able to cycle through and share that money within the family of God." And so I was like, man, what a great, I would say, just example and picture of really financially and money, especially if you're someone who is of faith and someone that walks with God, and understanding that, everything that we own is not ours, it's God's, and He's blessed us with everything that we do have. And so in return, we share that with others, right? And so it was just cool to have him say, they were honored to have me represent them, and that any money they make on the sale of their house is well deserved and will be staying within the family anyway. And to me, that changed my whole perspective of this is the way it should be with everything. Why wouldn't I want to go out and support my friends and my family and those around me in their businesses and whatever the case is, or do things alongside of them in events, because then you're helping each other grow those businesses, or just keeping that within the structure of your family and friends. That literally for me was the light bulb, where it was from now on, why would I ever go to somebody that's a stranger or somebody that I don't know if I have somebody that I know in the industry that I'm looking to work in, that I can already trust? That just doesn't make sense. And so I love this approach and stance. And I think it confirms my point in this entire podcast, that it makes perfect sense to keep the money in the family. In other words, for those of you that aren't following, if you are friends with someone in a line of work that you need help with, why wouldn't you support them? Why not funnel that money back to support someone in their own endeavor or business? I find joy, for me personally, in that, knowing that I'm helping provide to some of my friends the provision they need to take care of their family and build their future. I'm not quite sure why others don't see the value in that, or why they're taken back by wanting to run the risk, right, quotation marks, the risk of severing a relationship. Because in my experience, when I've represented my friends, my family, all those things, I can't remember one time where that has happened. If I'm being completely honest, I do not recall one time where that has happened. And so, I want to touch on just a couple things. I know I've said those things, but I think the biggest thing in this, right, if most people I think would agree with me, is that trust is kind of key, right? Trust is something that, before we do anything, right, and before we work with anyone, we want to feel that trust, and we want to feel that this is somebody that I could work with, and I know that's going to take care of me, right? Nowadays, to be honest, it's hard to come by. But again, as we're talking about trust and we're talking about some of those things, why would you put your trust in a stranger over a good friend? I mean, that's just me being real. Why would you put your trust in a stranger that you don't know, right, to handle your personal stuff, or to look at your personal stuff, right? Again, I mentioned most of the time people say I don't want to ruin a friendship, but can I just be honest with you? If I'm being real, because this has happened to me in this business, if you if you do go work with somebody that is a stranger, and you tell that friend of yours or that family member of yours or whoever it is that, hey, I just didn't want to sever this friendship or this relationship or whatever, like, you just did. Like, that's just me being real and honest with you. Like, you just did. Just by doing that. Because what you basically had told them, like it or not, you basically told them that, like, hey, we know that you're in this business over here, but we just don't trust you. That's literally like what you just told them by doing that. Or you basically just told them that you don't think that they're capable of doing their job well enough to represent you. And that stings and that hurts. And again, sometimes that may be true, right? Like, truth hurts sometimes. Sometimes that may be true, but in most cases, I don't think that is true. In most cases, I think that somebody was potentially thinking about themselves and only themselves, and not thinking about potentially how they could help their friends out, or honestly go work with somebody that they trust that would go to bat for them way more than a complete stranger would. I mean, that's just me, right? So, like, that's just me thinking. The other thing that I think about is, some people will say to me, well, we just, we didn't want it to be awkward or uncomfortable when we see you, so we thought we would just tell you. Unfortunately, now it is awkward and it is uncomfortable because you just told me. Like, you just told me that I wasn't good enough or trustworthy enough to work with you throughout that transaction. Again, this is just me and my opinion. So if you are out there and this has happened to you, please share. Please tell me how it's made you feel. But that's just the reality, right? So, like, the crazy thing is, when I think about all this, is like, the myth out there is like, well, you just don't want to mix personal relationships with professional ones because you don't want to sever that relationship, right? Or if something goes wrong, you don't want something to come up that would. Well, you just did that by not using them, to be honest. Like, you basically just, the one thing that you were fearful of is now the one thing that did sever that relationship, or make it awkward, if anything, or uncomfortable moving forward. Because now when you see that person in church, or you see them out in public or whatever, like, they know you didn't use them. And they know that, like, you basically just told them, like, hey, we know you're in this business, but we chose and elected to go with somebody else that we don't know over here. Now, I will say this. There are times where, like, obviously a family member gets into the same profession, or like maybe your best friend gets into that profession or whatever it is, and you're like, hey, we just feel more comfortable. Okay, I get that. I understand that. But don't use the line as a cop-out to be like, oh, we just didn't want to mix personal with professional. Like, tell them the truth, right? Like, tell them the truth of why you chose to, like, not to go with them, right? That's again where that trust comes in, and where that friendship and that relationship is important. Okay, so I hate when this happens to me and my team and myself, because it takes a few days or weeks sometimes to get over. It's gotten easier for me the longer I've been in this business, so I don't take it too personally. But I know that, especially for people that are just getting started, or especially for people that have been in the business, for a long period of time, right? It's something that still hurts, right? It's a maturity thing. You're right. Like, it definitely is something that you have to mature in. You have to grow thick skin with, and not take personal. But the truth is, if we're all being honest, it hurts. Like, when someone you trust elects to use someone else, especially if it's someone they don't even know, that hurts. It hurts a lot, because it makes you question that relationship. And maybe that person wasn't as good as a friend as you thought it was, or whatever the case is. But that's the reality, and that's the truth. So again, it kind of debunks that myth of like, oh, well, by keeping stuff personal out of professional stuff, like, it'll just be better for the both of us. No, it won't. Like, it'll actually be worse. And that's just me being real with you. So again, I mentioned trust about the motivation, but I think when you're talking about trust and all this too, for me, it motivates me to go to fight when I'm using a friend or family member that much more, right? Because I want them to have the best experience. I want them to be educated and informed, and I want them to learn something through that experience, And so I know, this is just me personally, I know I will fight harder if I have to, because they are my friend and I am representing them, and they want to have a smooth and fun process, right? And so, like, I know that I'm gonna work that much harder to make sure. And if somebody does wrong them, you know, this is why I tell you, and I tell all of our clients this, and especially they find out after we close on a deal. But like, when you become a client of ours, like, you're not just a friend or a client, you become a family member. You become a part of our Potter Real Estate Group family. Like, so like, we look forward to doing events. We look forward to doing drop-bys and checking in and coming to see you in and out throughout the year, even after the transaction, because you guys become family for us. And for me, like, I take that personally. The next time I go and represent you, it's like, no, this is my family. Like, I am taking care of them. And so if you wrong them, like, all hell's gonna break loose, because I'm gonna go to bat for them and I'm gonna make sure that things get handled properly. And so are you gonna get, the question I guess to ask is, are you gonna get that type of fight or representation from someone you don't know? Again, I'm not trying to like persuade you or tell you that like you need to use your friends, but I kind of am. I'm kind of telling you that like if you already trust someone and you know that they're good in that line of work that you're doing, like the question would be like, why not use them? Like, they will go to bat for you more than any other person ever would, because they're your friend. So that would be my argument of why you would want them to represent you. So anyways, you know, like, either way, I hope this gives you a different perspective on why you should use your friends and mix business and personal, because it should be, like, for me, it's become very natural and something that I look forward to doing, if I'm being completely honest. Like, it's not something that is awkward. It's something for me that I like look forward to doing. Like, if I have an opportunity to support like my friends and family in an endeavor or something that they're wanting to do, like, or for them to represent me like in a transaction moving forward on something, like, I want to give them that opportunity. And again, this goes to say, we all know this, like, are there times where things go bad? Absolutely. There are times where things go bad and you don't have a great experience. But then at least you have that to say, like, when you go back to that person later, to say, you know, hey, it's probably a reason why we chose to go this other route, right? It's because last time we just didn't really have a great experience, and I hope you don't take that personal, but, you know, things just didn't go as well as planned. Then at least you can be real and be honest with them, and then help them become better at what they do, right? Like, that's what I think is the crazy thing about all this stuff is, as I've gotten older and as I've got into, you know, as I've been in this business long enough now, like, I'm always looking for ways to improve, right? Like, I know that now that I've been in the business going into our 7th and 8th year, like, I know that there's things that we can still improve on. There's things that we can still do better, right? And so, like, that's why we request feedback. That's why we request reviews from people. Like, we want to read about people's experience with us. And then as we read those things, be like, hey, this is what we're doing really well, but this is an area that I think we can improve in. And then we're looking at ways to do that. Like, that's the way this relationship should work too, as far as, hey, what went really well through that transaction? Let me know what you really liked. Let me know some things that you think I can improve on. And that's not to like make you look bad. It's not to say that you're bad at what you do, but it's literally like, again, that trust factor and that realness of, you can basically have a conversation back and forth to help each other grow in your businesses and your lives, right? And that relationship with each other. And that's only going to strengthen that friendship. So those are the things that kind of make me a little like crazy sometimes when I think about it. So I want to end with this, just by asking you guys a couple questions. Feel free to comment on this. Feel free to let me know later. But if you're one of those people that has maybe been in this thought process for a while, or maybe this is something new to you and you haven't even thought about, I want to ask you 4 questions to kind of outline this as you go through the rest of your life together. Maybe it's individually as a couple or as a family. Like, I think these are all questions that would be good to ask as you're going through choosing who you should have to represent you in certain circumstances and situations. So my first question is, why does it seem awkward or uncomfortable to tell this person you won't be using them? Right? I think that's a fair question. Like, what's the motivation and the real reason behind the decision of whether you're going to use them or whether or not you're not going to use them, right? Like, what makes it awkward or uncomfortable to call that person or text that person I would prefer you call that person or you sit down over coffee with them and tell them. It's never fun just getting a text and being like, hey, we're getting ready. Like for me, I'll get this sometimes like, hey, I just wanted to give you a heads up, like we're going to list our house with so-and-so, or, you know, hey, we're looking at going to buy a new house in the market, and I just want to give you a heads up, like we're using someone else, but, you know, we just didn't want to, you know, make things awkward, or, well, you just did. Like, that just made it really awkward, because now I'm like, why? Like, why wouldn't you feel comfortable using me, or why don't you trust me? And it's over a text, right? So at least over a cup of coffee or lunch or something like that, it would be a little better face-to-face. That's just me being real with you. And usually if we have to make some of those decisions, you know, if Vanessa and I are in that situation where it's like, you know, we got two really good friends that are in this line of work, like we can only choose one of them, like who are we going to choose? Like, that's where we take the other person out and we sit down and we tell them like, hey, you know, here's the reason why we're not using it. It has nothing to do with you. It's just that we're much better, you know, like whatever you want to say, but at least be real and upfront with them and tell them. Don't let them find out from someone else, because that doesn't go over well either. All right, question 2. Is there a trust issue that needs to be addressed outside of the business decision? Okay, I think that's key. Like, is there a trust issue that needs to be addressed outside of the business decision? If there is, I would have to ask, is that person truly your friend? Right? Because if there's a trust issue there and you haven't up to this point sat down and had a conversation with them and talked about that, it makes me wonder, like, is that person really your friend? Because if I have someone that I would consider my friend, I would hope that they would take the time out of their day at some point to schedule a meeting with me and to talk to me about why it is they're making that decision, and if there's a trust issue of why they don't trust me to represent them in that situation. Like that would just be the right thing to do, right? Like it would be the right thing to do for you, because it eliminates then that awkwardness and that craziness and that emotional roller coaster things that are going on there. But it also allows you to sit down and build and hopefully deepen that relationship with that person and to make it stronger, make a stronger friendship there. Third question. Why do you find it easier to use a stranger or someone you barely know over someone that you know would have your back and that would go to bat for you? I mean, I feel like that's a fair question to ask. Why do you find it easier to use a stranger or someone you barely know over someone that would have your back and would go to bat for you? Like, do you think a stranger, like I said earlier, would care more for you if things did arise? Or do you think somebody that you trust that is in your corner would actually go to bat for you more, and that would make sure that they would do everything in their power that you would have a better or smooth process or experience? Again, that's just me talking. Like, I know because I've been in those situations. Like, I literally pick up the phone and I call my buddy and I'm like, hey man, like, this is what's going on. Can you look into this? And in most of the cases, every single time that person's like, you bet, man. Like, what's going on? Tell me about it. Like, I'll go to bat. Like, what do I need to do? Like, and it's literally freeing for me on that side of things to be like, man, this is great. Like, I hand that off to them. They're taking care of it and they're going to make it all work out for us. Like, in most cases it does, right? But even if it doesn't, I at least know that guy did everything he could, or that girl did everything that they could to represent us well and to do everything that made us feel good, right? Like, it made us feel comfortable knowing that, hey, that person's in our corner and they're doing everything they can to make it right, right? So again, just something to think about. Last question here, and I'll end this. I think that there's a myth, and I've been kind of talking about that it's not healthy for you to mix business and personal together in your relationships. And you've been hearing me say this throughout the whole podcast. I would say that the opposite is true. I find it much more fulfilling and joyful to give back to my friends and family and help them build their businesses than to give my money to a complete stranger and help someone else build their business that I won't speak to after the transaction is done. Like, again, think about that. Like, how many times have we given our business or our money or whatever it is, our time, to other people that could care less about us? Like, we're never going to hear from them again. We're never going to talk to them again. But like, it was just like, here you go. Here's my money. Here's my trust. Here's whatever it is. Here's my time and my energy. And I know you don't really care about me, but like, I just feel better because I don't want to mix business and like, does that make any sense? Like, to me, that doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. And again, everybody has their own opinion. Everybody has their own way of doing things. So again, I'm not like trying to come down on people that choose to go that route or anything like that. I'm trying to share my perspective and share why I think it's important and it's beneficial for you to do life, personal life and professional life, business with your friends and family. Because again, at the end of the day, I feel like the trust is better. I also feel like somebody's going to go to bat for you even more if something does arise. And so that is why I wanted to kind of create and have this discussion. So again, if you guys are watching, if you guys are listening, comment, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know about your experiences and what has happened with you, whether that was good or bad. And let me know, because I would love to hear from you guys and your different perspectives and opinions as well on this topic. But hopefully that helped you guys better understand at least where I come from and how I do business and how I go about in my relationships with those that are around me. Because at the end of the day, one thing that's big and key for us is we've created a network within the Potter Real Estate Group called the Core 100. And our Core 100 is a group of other family, friends, people that we've done, clients that we've done business with, that we've built a relationship with and that we trust. And so then when our clients go to close on a home or they're going throughout a transaction and throughout the process and they need someone, whether that's an attorney, whether that's a plumber, an electrician, a doctor, like people that move here, are always like, hey, we need a pediatrician, we need somebody like this for this, like whatever the case is, we've created that trustworthy network. So now we have a network of people that we can share with our clients and say, hey, go use this person or go see this person. We trust them, we've done business with them, but we also have a relationship with them and they're great people. They will take care of you just like we did. And it allows those people to then build instant trust, right? Because they had a great experience with us and now they trust us to refer that business off to another person. And again, it keeps it within the family, right? Like we call it our Core 100 family. Like it keeps it within our network of saying like, hey, because we love you guys and we trust you guys and we do life together, like we're going to do everything we can to help build your business as well and to help satisfy the needs of everybody that's involved. Whether that's a client, whether that's somebody that has another business, whatever the case is, like that's why it's so important for us to build that family network. And that's what we are, honestly prideful in doing. Like we love and we're proud to continue to build that network that we have, because it feels good when I can refer someone off to somebody else and know that they're going to get the same experience that they got with us when they bought a house, when they go see a doctor, or when they need some home improvements done, or when they want to go something small, whether they need life insurance or they need different things. Things come up, right? And so it's always nice to have those relationships and those trustworthy relationships to then pass off to other people, because I don't have to think twice about it. I know they're going to be taken care of. And that is the type of relationship that you should desire and want in everything that you do. So again, at the end of the day, at least for me, like I love mixing my personal life with professional life with other people, because I know it's going to better one another and the relationship that we have, but also it allows us to grow and do life together as well. So we see more of each other. We get to take care of our clients together. So that's always fun too. And then, you get the reviews that are like, thank you so much for sending me to this person. Like they're great. They helped us with this situation or whatever the case is. And that makes me feel good, because then it's like, yeah, like that's my network and those are my people. And so those people are our family as well. So anyways, I hope that answers questions. But again, if you guys have any other comments or things like that, please comment below. Let me know what you think. And then also, if you guys have other topics that you want me to discuss, let me know that as well, because I would love to discuss those things with you and do another podcast on whatever it is that you'd like me to do a topic on. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.